how about it? 20 teams, Sheil, still with playoff contention, viability, could make it, could change their seeding. It's the most of any non-strike shortened season, I think, ever. I think it ties 2006, which part of the reason why they added the extra week, right? Is because you kind of get a little bit more math in here, you get a little bit more opportunity in here. But altogether, a fun photo finish, right? The list of teams benching starters is like 5-6 teams long. It's a rare thing to have, and so a lot of meaningful Week 18 football. You know me, I like to give kudos to the schedulers. You don't like it when I do this, but I like it. I'm proud of them. This is a good setup.
I was going to say, you've held off on that a little bit this year, probably because I yelled at you so much last year for giving the
Here's the thing. I just
credit.
feel like one year I want to make the NFL schedule. It seems so interesting and so fun to me. So I just admire it from afar. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the schedule.
There you go. Maybe next year, Roger. We know you listen. Let Solek in the room figure some
Raj.
things out for you. All right, let's get to it. Headliners, like you mentioned, there's a lot of games with playoff implications. Some obviously more important than others. What do you have for your headliner Week 18?
Yeah, headline game for me is Texans Colts. This is the game for me where
different than mine.
Right. And obviously, I mean, Bills Dolphins is an enormous game, and there's a ton to talk about there. I'm really interested in Texans Colts because these are two of the most surprising teams this year, and both of them have gone up against pretty substantial adversity. Colts, obviously, I mean, like the first thing I wrote about this NFL season was Anthony Richardson, man. Like for me, coming out of week one, the storyline was holy smokes, Anthony Richardson. Like this is good enough to win. Good enough to win now. Like, okay, he's a raw player, we all thought, but this was clearly good enough running ability, throwing down the field. Like he had it. He was checking the ball down. He was working underneath, like the stuff we were afraid of out of Florida. And then he goes down, and you're looking at this Colts roster with just like massive turnover at linebacker and at cornerback and unknown edge rushers and an offensive line that dramatically underperformed last year, and a Frank Reich firing into Jeff Saturday, and then Jonathan Taylor and the owner are tweeting at each other. Now Gardner Minshew is starting. Like it just every single part of this roster, there was a problem. And here Shane Steichen is at 9-7, having just by his bootstraps yanked this team up into contention. An unbelievable offensive coaching job, and then defensively Gus Bradley. But just great work by first-year coach Shane Steichen. The emergence of Zach Moss, the improved play of Bernard Raymond, the play of the offensive line, EJ Speed, Zaire Franklin, the Juju Brents, just so many people contributing to this team out of nowhere. The Colts are very impressive. And then the Texans, where like the Anthony Richardson thing was like, oh, cool, he can play. Like he can make it. He seems like a project. It seems like he's a real guy. The CJ Stroud thing was like, shoot, is he top 10? What the heck? Where did this come from? A rookie season in terms of polish and poise and immediately delivering like you'd never seen. D'Amico Ryans, who like Steichen was like, wow, 2022 amazing. I've loved D'Amico for years. I've been waiting to see D'Amico head coach team, and it looked exactly like I thought I would. They're fired up, and they're young, and they're aggressive, and they're hitting, and they're tackling, and you just have this young secondary and a linebacking core that's rotating, and all these like island of lost toys edge rushers that just all of a sudden amalgam into a real defense. Derek Barnett's having career football, dude. Derek Barnett. The Eagles couldn't get this guy to work. D'Amico's got him working. It's just it. Both these teams have been something to see, and now here we are. The winner of this game is going to the playoffs. There's a chance they're winning the AFC South. The loser of this game is out. Saturday night, prime time. Does not matter what happened the first 17 weeks of the season. Week 18, put up or shut up in the division. Like this is what it's for, man. Like January, late January, early February. That's for like the contenders and the real teams and the whole season. This week is for like the teams that they just want to have a building block. They want to have something to grow off of. And the springboard that's offered you if you make the playoffs as a first-year head coach, you can prove to league free agents that, hey, we are legit over here. It is very substantial. So the stakes in Texans Colts are enormous. Is the team that wins this winning the Super Bowl? Probably not. But it is very meaningful to both of these teams. The matchup is interesting on both sides of the ball. The narratives are interesting. Can't wait to watch.
Yeah, you framed it well based on where these teams were in the offseason, where they were in week one. I mean, typically teams that have rookie starting quarterbacks stink that first season. Now the Colts, obviously, like you said, Richardson gets injured, Minshew gets in there, but the Colts were a laughing stock. I mean, so like how many pods did we do in the offseason? We're just making fun of Jim Irsay and like, what is going on with this franchise? Like we spent many segments doing that. And listen, I stand by all of those takes, but to come in this season, and I had the under on the Colts coming into this year. I thought they were going to stink even if they had Richardson, because I was like, the guy's played 13 college games. There's not a lot of talent around him. This is not going to be a quick turnaround. You just want to see flashes from him, but their record's probably going to be horrible. And it hasn't been. They had an easy schedule, but they won those games. And now here they are positioned to potentially make the playoffs. And then, yeah, the Texans to me are different. The Texans are just like, I'm trying to think of teams that if I were a fan of them between week one and now, I would be like, my scale would have gone from I don't know to like, oh my gosh, the
Yeah.
next 8 years of my life are going to be amazing, and the Texans have to be right up there, right?
That Texans draft, man, when they went Stroud 2 and then traded up for Will Anderson 3, I was like, you are Solomon splitting the kid. You couldn't choose who to pick at 2,
Oh
so
yeah,
you're
I
just
ripped
picking
them.
twice. Like what? Like you got. I thought they got good players. I liked Will Anderson. I like
Me
CJ Stroud,
too.
but I was like, this is a mess, man. Like the front office doesn't agree, the coaching staff doesn't agree. I was very big on them not having Stroud as their top quarterback. I thought ownership was getting involved with that pick. I'm not even convinced that that's not what happened. It might be what happened. They just fell bass backwards into it. But that moment felt like, all right, this Texans year one is just going to be like Nick Caesar's on his way out, D'Amico's on his way in. We'll, see if Tank Dell's good, and that'll be it. No, sir. I mean, they have hit on everything.
Yeah, it's a good reminder as we go into week 18 that we'll be ripping some of these teams for the way this played out. But sometimes, you know what? You just get lucky. Like Texans getting 2 was probably the best thing that could have happened to them, where they land CJ Stroud there if they weren't going to take him at number 1. So I love that Stroud got healthy. I love that we get to see him in this game. I'm excited about this game. No doubt about it. Colts are 1.5-point underdogs at home. So winner gets in, loser goes home. Now, if the Jaguars win, then the winner here is a wild card team. If the Jaguars lose, then the winner here is the AFC South champ and could host or would host a playoff game
Mhm.
in week 1. So I got some stuff potentially tied to this game that we'll get to a little bit later.
I
So
do as well.
okay, so we'll circle back to it. And then the other big headliner, obviously, you mentioned it. I'll go with the obvious pick. Bills at Dolphins. This Bills team, I went on my rant, what was it, 3-4 weeks ago, where I said, listen, sometimes the teams that have these long droughts, it's got to happen for them in a weird way. And I went on this long speech about the Buffalo Bills. Well, since then, they haven't exactly been like peaking or just going upward. I was hoping they were just going to keep
Yeah.
going up and be hot when we got. I mean, they barely get by the Patriots last week, barely get by the Chargers the week before. And now you have this fascinating situation where with a win here, the Bills are AFC East champs and they're going to be the 2 seed. However, there is a scenario where this is their last game of the season. If they lose here and the Steelers and the Jaguars win, and not only are the Bills not AFC East champs, they are not a wild card team. They are out of the playoffs entirely. And to me, there's something so fitting about that for this Bills season, where 1 week we're saying, what the heck is wrong with
Right.
this team? And the next week I'm saying they can win the Super Bowl. Don't count them out. And that's how it still is all the way here in week 18. So their defense, they fixed a lot of stuff on that side of the ball after that kind of midseason drought. Offense is kind of just, statistically very good, but do you really trust it? They have this weird, have you been following this Stephon Diggs thing? So he'll act like it's playing time.
Just the him not producing thing and him not
Well,
playing.
well,
Yeah.
he's off the field a bunch. I mean, he's played. This is
He
Athletic.
played 66% of the snaps last week. Yeah.
It's been 3 weeks in a row. The Athletic wrote about this. 3 weeks in a row where he's played under 60% of the snaps. Now, one of those was a blowout against Dallas, but the other 2 were competitive games. And I remember back to that Eagles game where Tony, I think it was Romo, calling that game where he's like, 3rd down, Diggs is not on the field. And there's no, I mean, who knows what it is? It could be injury related. It could not be injury related. There's no clarity about what's happening there. I mean, this is by far their number 1 pass catching option, and he's off the field 2/3 of the time in these key games. So that's on my radar a little bit. So I don't know where it's going to go with this Bills team. And then the Dolphins we talked about on Monday's show. You lose Bradley Chubb. You already lost Jalen Phillips. We're recording this Thursday night. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle were both out of practice on Thursday. I think Hill's probably more likely to play than Waddle, but that's still notable nonetheless. Against playoff teams this year, Ben, the Miami Dolphins are 1-4 with a minus 84 point differential. They've played the fewest games against playoff opponents this season. And when they've been tested, for the most part, they haven't been good. So every time when they have one of these big games, I feel like I've often leaned to, well, I still believe in them. I think they're going to come through here, and I keep getting burned by that time in and time out. So Bills are 3-point favorites in this game. Dolphins are already in. A win means they get the 2 seed. A loss means they get the 6 seed, and a trip to Kansas City, which would be a pretty fun game. What are you looking for in this game? Bills beat them earlier this season, 48-20.
No, I do think that the fact that the Bills offense did not improve under Joe Brady is a storyline that has just gotten dramatically understated, right? Like we spent a lot of time with the Ken Dorsey Bills saying, listen, they're turning the ball over a lot, but like the numbers are good. The offense is good. Like this is working well. And I was like, no, it's a problem. The offense is bad. So Ken Dorsey, 10 games on the season. Josh Allen had a 52% success rate, 0.139 EPA per dropback, 6.67 adjusted net yards per attempt. All three of those numbers are down in 6 games with Joe Brady, right? If you look at the overall offensive success, EPA per play is down, EPA per drive is down, pass success is down, rush success is down, yards per play is down, points per drive is down. There's only one thing that's down, and it's good news, and that's turnovers per drive. They went from 17% under Ken Dorsey to 9% under Joe Brady. It was turnovers. We knew it was turnovers when Ken Dorsey was still the OC, and it's still turnovers now. But from a snap-to-snap perspective, this offense is not as good as it was with Ken Dorsey. Stephon Diggs is not the sort of player you should have trouble utilizing. He's like an elite one-on-one winner. Like he's not a hard, how do we get Stephon Diggs activated? You just line them up somewhere where they can only play man. Put the other 4 guys on the other side of the formation. Like this should not be a challenging thing. And so the Bills offensively don't scare me as much as they did last time they played the Dolphins. Now they're desperate, which then kind of heightens them back up, right? You're gonna expect a very impassioned performance. The on the Dolphin side of the ball, the thing that interests me is that Tyreek Hill in that Bills game, 3 catches, 58 yards. Buddy, there's not gonna be any Jalen Waddle in this game. Tyreek is first team All Pro receiver with a bullet. He is potentially the offensive player of the year for Christian McCaffrey. Like he has been discussed as this unbelievable top tier wide receiver, and I believe every word of that. Especially when I say it, I'm saying it with my chest. But one of the things about Tyreek is that the way the Dolphins use him, if you scheme him out of things, the Dolphins will oftentimes shrug and be like, shoot, time to throw it to Durham Smythe. Time to throw it to Cedric Wilson. Like they can accept that way too easily, I think, schematically. And in this game with no Waddle, you can't. If the Bills decide to take away Tyreek Hill, you have to decide to find a way to make Tyreek Hill activated. Because if you lose this game because you over targeted Braxton Berrios, you played yourself, right? You should that is unacceptable in this sort of environment. Star players make star plays on star days. This is one of those. And so Tyreek can't have that quiet of a game, especially with no Waddle. And the Bills are going to do everything they can to take him away. So you have to find a way to make Tyreek the centerpiece of this offense.
Yeah, I think it was Aaron Schatz who tweeted out that the Bills, in terms of defending the middle of the field, are like top 5 in the NFL in DVOA. Yeah. So, with this Dolphins offense where some of those kind of core foundation plays where they're going, and Tua's throwing to the spot, like regardless of what else is happening, and the ball's coming out in 2.1, 2.2 seconds. And hey, it's worked a lot this season, but there have been those instances where, it looks a little up and down. So we'll see if the Dolphins can, I don't know if it would be a signature win. I mean, if you beat the Bills at home here to get the 2 seed, I mean, that's a big deal. Where now all of a sudden to get to the Super Bowl, all you have to do is win 1 game potentially on the road. So yeah, that absolutely would be a signature win. And man, this Bills thing, I wish I could tell you I was confident which way it was going to go. Nothing would surprise. If we're talking on Monday about the Bills are out of the playoffs, like, I'm sorry, that's just not going to surprise me. If we're saying, holy cow, that performance, they can win this thing, that would not surprise me. It's just so fitting.
It's really quite going back to the scheduling thing, it's really quite the dice roll here, because they have this Bills game be the last game. So there's a chance, like if the Bills know that the Jags lose, then the Bills know for a fact going into this game they're making the playoffs, right? Obviously, you still want to win the division. There's still high stakes. I acknowledge that. But I'll be very sad if we get this game and the Bills know for sure they're making the playoffs. I would have loved for the Bills to have to play this game Saturday at 8 o'clock, blind, right? A loss might mean you can't make the playoffs. I want that reek of desperation. They took it from us. The Bills are going to know, and that does disappoint me.
It's so true. Yeah, that would have been better. Why'd they do this? I don't know why they did that.
See, this is what I think about, Sheil. This is what I spend my time on.
On the other hand, man, can you imagine if the Steelers and Jaguars win, and then the
That's
Bills,
why it's a dice roll.
If they lose, you're out of here. Oh my gosh, that would be fun. So we'll see what happens there. All right.